Hello, everyone. This is Arnold Mangioli at Grateful, Ready, Open, Willing, and I'm very happy to be here today with you at Find Center. I am a Broadway casting director. That's my day job. So a few things I want you to know about me. The first is I am usually behind the table. I'm not usually here out in front. That's a language we use in show business for when an actor's auditioning. These incredible people are out in front of the table doing what they do so brilliantly, singing and dancing and acting and doing scenes. And I'm one of the people behind the table who's observing, taking notes, keeping everything on schedule, evaluating based on the director's and the writer's visions for the piece, how suitable the people are for that specific thing. It's never about are people good or are people bad. It's always about the specific thing that you're casting. So that's what I do. I live what's called behind the table. This right now, this virtual space we're in together, this is called in front of the table. And it is not my wheelhouse. It is not where I usually am. But my work has taught me so much about human nature and about the importance of preparedness. We may or may not see how I do with that today. And magic and miracles and showing up for your life, that there are a lot of things I've absorbed over the years that I have a desire to share with you. So I ask you to forgive a few things. One is I sometimes talk very fast, and that is the nature of my work. Very often I'm in auditions with an actor before I bring them forward to a director or to the creative team. And I only have a little window of time with each actor, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and they do the material. And maybe I want to give them a whole bunch of adjustments and thoughts and things to think about before their callback. So I find myself talking very fast because I'm doing that with actors all day. And sometimes that becomes just how I talk. So if I'm talking too fast at any point, please feel free to put into the chat, please slow down, or just slow down. And I will try to take that in and do my best to keep up, and feel free to put it in there again if my professional voice kind of takes over moving too fast. Okay. I want to say thank you at the start to the wonderful folks at Find Center, to SHERRA JOHNSTON and Kayla Tibbetts, my wonderful angels in this, who have held my hand and taken me through the technological part of it and bringing me around to the front of the table. I would like to share with you that SHERRA JOHNSTON, who is kind of running this place, was a student of mine many years ago, who became an intern of mine, who was so fabulous I would hire her to work for me whenever she's available. And now she's brought me here. So it's one of those wonderful miracles where the student becomes the teacher. And if you're very lucky, as Mrs. Anna says in The King and I, if you are very lucky, by your pupils, you'll be taught. Find Center is a pretty cool place. I mean, if you poke around here, you can see Wayne Dyer and Raw Goddess and Louise Hay and Neil deGrasse Tyson and Buddha. I'm the only person in this I've never heard of. So I'm just thrilled to be here. Also, I live in New York City, and I'm not in a sound studio. So you might hear car horns or sirens or noises, ambient noise from the outside. An astrologer years ago taught me to take all those car horns and beeps and sounds as affirmation, the universe kind of clamoring in and cheering. So I hope you'll receive those the same way. Firstly, welcome. This talk is called Come As You Are. You are welcome here, however you are, whatever you're doing. Perhaps you're here in person, perhaps you're listening in replay, perhaps you're watching and listening attentively, perhaps you are baking. I do a lot of baking. I mean, listening to talks and wise people say things while I'm baking, because I can kind of bake and mix things while I'm taking in information with my mind and my heart, because the baking is more of a task. So that's one thing I love to do. I guess it's called multitasking nowadays. Wherever you're at, if you're exhausted, as some of us at this point in our lives in the world are, if you are overwhelmed, if you're tripping over miracles, as sometimes when we bring our awareness, we find ourselves, perhaps you're like a seed in the ground where you're just in a dormant place. It feels cold and dark, but As someone once said to me, nothing in nature blooms all year round. Give yourself those dormant spaces, which I'm a big fan of doing. Perhaps you are in a calm meditative state. You know, sometimes I join these talks and I turn them on and the person is so centered and so in their breath work and so in a ready place. I think to myself, well, if I were packing to go to an ashram or study in India meditation for 24 hours a day for the next 2 weeks, I might be in a place to meet you there. But what I want to say, with no judgment about any of that, is simply that you are welcome here however you are. If you are in a frazzled place, if you are in a peaceful place, this is come as you are. So how you are, it's a beautiful thing. I know this is a series that is focusing on peacefulness and calmness. I don't really talk like a peaceful, calm person. I'm sort of a show business behind the scenes working person. So it's always fairly frenetic. That's maybe how I am today. I'm not in my wheelhouse behind the table. So maybe I'm a little out of my comfort zone. That's where I am today. That beautiful adage about life begins at the end of your comfort zone, at the edge of your comfort zone. That's where I am today. I'm in my life beginning. Welcome. Next thing. So the two guys are sitting at the table, or older guys, one of them whose house it is, and the other one is visiting him. And the old guy at the table, whose house it is, says, "Oh, we had dinner at the most wonderful restaurant last night. It was so good. Oh my God, the meal was unbelievable." And his friend says to him, "So what was the name of the restaurant?" And the old guy says, it's a flower. It's red. It's got thorns. It's a long stem. You give it to someone you love, like on Valentine's Day. You give a single one or a dozen. And his friend says, "Rose." And the guy says, "That's it. Rose, what was the name of that restaurant we had dinner at last night?" We're all living in the world. My mom is 95. She forgets things. I'm younger than that. I forget things. Do you forget things? This is come how you are, come as you are. And that's the point. Come as you are. How are you? How are you today? How are you in this moment? So what I'd like to do, if you don't mind, is I'd like to just take a moment and check in with ourselves. Would that be okay? Let's just close our eyes. This will take 2 or 3 minutes. It'll be very brief. Let's just close our eyes. I'll do it with you. And let's just observe our breathing. Don't do any take a deep breath or change your breath. Rather, just observe. Just check in and observe how your body is breathing for you. Maybe you are breathing deeply. Maybe your breathing is a little shallow. Maybe it's got a lot of space in between the breaths, or maybe you're breathing a little rapidly. Whatever it is, this is come as you are. So if we just quietly check in with our breathing and observe the breath, if we can do that. So in other words, we're not changing anything. We're not forcing a pattern. We're sort of just observing how our body is breathing at this moment in time. Our breathing pattern might be a little different than maybe when we first woke up this morning after sleeping for hours. Maybe then it was a little slower, a little deeper before we got out of bed and started doing anything. Maybe we are baking and our breathing is a little quick because we're lifting heavy bags of flour and beating eggs. Maybe our breathing is a little slower than we expected or a little faster than we expected, but just observe how the body breathes out, lets go. Letting go is a great thing. Let's observe how our body maybe has some space there or not. Maybe we take in another breath right away. Maybe our body just allows some space and then takes in the next breath that it needs. As much or as little breath as it needs. And then maybe there's a little pause there and maybe not. And then maybe we exhale and it feels kind of deep and releasing and free, or maybe it's a little tight and a little small. Could be anything. The miracle is that our body breathes for us. We don't really need to do anything. Most of us don't think about breathing. It just happens. And if we didn't take another breath, we wouldn't last 3 minutes. But most of the day, and certainly the whole time we're sleeping at night, we are not aware of our body breathing. We don't even think about it. And yet, our body keeps this up, this miracle. Our body is taking care of it for us while we're not even paying attention. Just enjoy that for a moment. And if we can trust that, if we can trust that this very necessary process of breath, breathing, happens without our even paying attention to it, if we can trust that our body does that for us, then just think about what else we can trust, how much more we can trust and let go of. We are so taken care of. And just maybe let's ask ourselves, how are you? How am I? Just enjoy another breath, if you like, just observing, not altering or changing or feeling like there's some way we're supposed to do this. Our body does this just fine. Oh, that feels good. I'm a big fan of that miracle of breathing. How are you? You are a miracle. That's how you are. How do I know that? If you want to jump on your internet browser and search it, because I'm not so sophisticated as to screen share my internet browser while I'm talking and paying attention to my lighting. If you jump on your internet browser and you were to search probability of being born, what comes up right away is 1 in 400 trillion. And then in the very next sentence of the things that show up before you even click, in the very next sentence, it says, maybe even 1 in 400 quadrillion. I had to look that one up because I didn't know what a quadrillion was, but a quadrillion is a 1 with 15 zeros after it. And that is the probability of you being born, of that particular zygote, that egg and sperm that fertilize and mix together and create that zygote that becomes that person that you are. Because of the number of sperm and the number of eggs, and look at me, I'm giving a biology class. Apparently, the probability of this happening in a way that created you or me, the probability is 1 in 400 trillion or 1 in 400 quadrillion that we could even be here. And I thought to myself, okay, but what about, wouldn't that be true for my parents who created that fertilized egg that became me? Like, wasn't it 1 in 400 quadrillion for each of them? And my 4 grandparents, like 1 in 400 quadrillion times 4. So what is that? A 1 with 60 zeros after it? And if you go back a bit, the probability, the likelihood that we could be here at all manifested in this body. Wow, that is a miracle. A miracle is what happens that seems like it can't even be possible. And here we are. We are walking, talking miracles for all the stuff that's going on in the world and all the stuff we deal with and all the stuff in a given day we might feel like, I cannot manage, I cannot get through this. We are here. We are a miracle. That's why, as a casting director, when an actor walks into my room in front of the table and does their work, I have such awesome respect for the very being that they are. Let's respect the very beings that we are, the miracles that we are, one in quadrillion you. So I'm seeing some things in the chat, and hello, everybody. It's wonderful to see you, old friends and new, and friends I haven't met before. I'm so happy you're here. A few housekeeping things, tools, how to enjoy this session. First of all, however you want, you are welcome to listen attentively. Is that a word? Attentively, attentively, and multitask, bake, join in the brief exercises that we're doing. You can have pens near you. I always have lots of colored pens. I love colored pens. I'm a big fan of colored pens. I have them next to me all the time because you never know when it's going to be a fun time to do something colorfully. So if you have pen and paper, if you have your keyboard or your notes app on your phone, whatever you might use, maybe you just want to speak out loud. We might do a few little small exercises like the breathing exercise we just did. You can say things, you can write things, you can write them into the chat. If you have a question, you're welcome to, Anthony, you're making me laugh. You're welcome to ask that in the chat. I'd rather invite you to ask questions as we go along, if you have any, rather than wait at the end and try to have people recollect if there's a question, or try to think of a question. If something occurs to you, feel free to type it in, and I will do my best to address that as we go. What we're covering here in this little bit of time that we have together: how you are, how you can be, want to be. We're human beings. My partner always reminds me, you're a human being, you're not a human doing. So I try to remember that. How we can be, how we want to be as beings, and how to activate or reactivate our journey, because the joy is always in the journey. We're all living our own hero's journey. It's not about the destination. It's about all that we learn and how we grow and understand ourselves in our life journey. So how are you? Very often when we're asked that question, maybe several times a day, we say, fine. We even toss away with our hand, like, don't ask me, get out of here. Fine, I'm fine. The question asks about the present moment. It's not, how were you? How were you earlier today? How will you be by this evening? The question that we ask colloquially so often of one another, how are you in this moment that I'm seeing you? I walked by an Italian restaurant recently, and the host saw somebody he hadn't seen in a while and said, hey, how are you? And the guy said, fine. And he said, well, how you doing? And the guy said, fine. And he said, how you been? And the guy said, fine. And he goes, how's life? And the guy said, fine. And I was like, well, that's not a very in-depth conversation, but we kind of put off that part of the conversation with the courtesy of just acknowledging each other. Hi, how are you? And waving it away with fine, we're all fine. Yeah, it's interesting because it's a present moment question. Our awareness, perhaps after checking in with our breathing and that little exercise we did, perhaps we felt differently after than we did going into it 3 minutes earlier. Perhaps not. Perhaps we felt exactly the same. Perhaps nothing shifted. I invite you to approach where you are with curiosity. So rather than judgment, rather than idea of, oh, today is a terrible day, there's so much going on, I'm overwhelmed, rather, isn't that curious? I'm feeling kind of tired. Or isn't that curious? I actually feel kind of good. Or isn't that curious? I feel more present than I find that I usually am, or not. But to actually investigate with curiosity how we are. Let me ask this question. How are you in the context of your life? So for example, if I said, may we go look at your kitchen drawer right now? If you were to go look at your kitchen drawer, because most of us have a drawer in our kitchen that becomes kind of the junk drawer where we put in the little twist ties from the packages or things that maybe we want to save. I have a thing with bakery string, that red and white twine that you get on the loaf of bread from the bakery or from the box of bakery, whatever, that someone might bring over to your home. I don't know. I bake, so I don't know. But if you're like me and a lot of Italian American people, you have a lot of bakery string in the kitchen drawer. My partner and I were at my mom's house recently, and at one point he opened the drawer and said, "Why is there all this bakery string in here?" I said, "Don't touch it. Don't touch that. That is essential." And he's like, "What do you use it for?" I said, you play cat's cradle with the little kids when they come over, or you tie the braciole with it before you cook. There's a lot of bakery. He's like, "No one needs this much string." I said, "Do not mess with bakery string. It's very important." So what's in your kitchen drawer? What does it say about you, who you are, your culture, your background? What was in your mom's kitchen drawer when you were growing up or not? What's it say about us? I have 3 kitchen junk drawers, by the way, not just one. Some people need more than one. Our shoes. What do our shoes say about us? If I said, let's just look at our shoes, our footwear. What are we looking at? Are we looking at a pair of shoes? Are we looking at a pair of socks? I have very brightly colored socks on, and no shoes at the moment. Are you barefoot? And what does that say about you? My friend Flo, at a Christmas party we had one year, she couldn't believe the tower of drawers filled with socks that I had, all brightly colored. And she laid them out on the bed and counted them during my party and said to me, "Do you realize if it were only about socks, you only have to do laundry 3 times a year?" It's a bit of an obsession of mine. What does your footwear say about you? Are your shoes kind of beaten up? Are they shiny, sparkly? Do they feel good? Are they comfortable? Are they uncomfortable? What does your footwear say about you? What do our communications say about us? If I were to say, let's look at our phone and look at the last text we sent, what would that say about us? Is it a communication in the ideal way we'd like to communicate? Are we communicating with lower self moments? Let me see. Lower self moment. Okay, never mind. But what does it say about you? Your last text. What does our work say about us? What we choose to do work-wise, our calling, maybe our job. Maybe those are different things for people. Our creative way of working, or our non-creative way of working, the way we see our job, our boss, our clients, our employees. What's that say about us? Who are we? Our living space, what does that say about us? Look around you. What do you see? I see a plant, big, bright green plant that's starting to flower. I see a beautiful tree outside my window. I see the messiest desk in all of New York City in front of me that I would be embarrassed to turn the camera and show you. What does our living space say about us? How are we taking care of ourselves? How are we allowing space to grow? Do we have living things in our living space? People, animals, plants. Who are we living with? What do we associate with? How much lifefulness do we let in? So let's take a quick look again at all those things. Our kitchen drawer, the miracle of our kitchen. A friend of mine used to talk about how in his building, in the apartment, I remember if it was upstairs or downstairs from him, was a woman named Annie, and he'd see her every morning and he'd say, "How are you doing, Annie?" And she'd shout back, "I am doing fine." And he'd say, "Why are you doing fine today, Annie?" And she'd say, "Because I have hot and cold running water and 90% of the world doesn't." And she'd have the same answer every morning. You know, Louise Hay talks about that in one of her meditations, that even kings and queens did not enjoy the comforts that we so take for granted, indoor plumbing, things like that, hot and cold running water. Even kings and queens could not enjoy those conveniences only a century or so ago. And we sometimes completely take them for granted. The miracle of our feet and all of the places in the world they take us. You know that saying, "I cried because I had no shoes until I met a man with no class." I mean, with no feet. So, what about our last text? Do you know that 50% of the world has never used a telephone? It's got to do with electricity. Apparently, 15% of the world's population has access to 70% of the world's telephone lines. So that means that leaves 30% of the world's telephone lines for 85% of the population. Aren't we blessed? Are we so lucky? The blessing of work. You know, there's a Chekhov quote I like so much. I'm a theater geek. I love Chekhov. Guilty as charged. If one wants to lead a good life, a human life, one must work. I love that. Our living space, the roof over our heads. You know, when I was growing up, if I would cry as a kid and tell my dad, I hate you, you don't love me, he'd say, I put the roof over your head. I never really understood that as a kid. I get it now. There's rent every month for that roof over my head, and it's still there. And I'm grateful for it. The life around us, the people in our lives, the plant, the tree out the window, this virtual space where we can communicate, animals, living things. What a miracle we're living. Are we showing up for the miracle of our life? That's a question. Rose, what was the name of that? In our forgetfulness, in our imperfectness, are we angry? I'll tell you what makes me angry. Men's fashion right now. I am of an age where I cannot find a pair of pants that make any sense for my body type right now. I mean, they're like really tight spandex sausage casing on the legs, the lower legs, and then they become this like hefty bag on the butt. It's who is designing these things makes me crazy. Are we sad? Are we happy? Are we curious? Curiosity is such a great approach. Are we feeling lifeful or grateful or ready or open or willing? Are we showing up for the life we have? Are we showing up for the life we want? So here's another great story about the young woman who was stopped her car and just said a prayer and said, God, please, please, I want to win the lottery. God, please, please help me win the lottery. God, please, may I win the lottery? And a voice came out of the sky and said, you know, her name was Susan. And the voice said, Susan, work with me here. Buy a ticket. There are things we want. Are we willing to do what's necessary to create the life that we want? Are we showing up for the way life shows up to us? There's another great story about the flood that came and the couple that was up on the roof, and they prayed and they asked, please God save us, please God save us, and they got a very strong internal reaction that God would save them. And then the emergency raft came by and said, get in, and they said, we don't have to get in, God will save us, we know God will save us. And the person driving the emergency raft begged them to get in, and they refused because God was going to save them. And then a boat came, you know, the Coast Guard boat came by and said, get in. And they said, no, we prayed and we know God's going to save us. And then the rescue helicopter came by and said, grab the ladder, come in. They said, no, we prayed and we know God's going to save us. Are we showing up for the life we ask for? Are we hearing the answers to our prayers? Are we embracing that, even if it comes in an unexpected way, even if we have an expectation that's so hard to let go of? I do this all the time. It's like, I know how it's going to work out, and I don't know anything. I'm pretty sure, you know, I've set up these auditions, and I'm pretty sure from what they've described that this is the person they're going to want to play the role. No, not usually. Usually I'm wrong. And the joy of that is the curiosity, the miracles that display themselves in the way an actor shows up in the room differently or new, or bringing their full self that day to what they do. It's awe-inspiring, truly. How are you, the miracle that you are? How are you, the life that you have? How are you, the life that you wish to manifest, all that you can be? I heard something really wonderful the other day. It might have been Mike Dooley who said it. Please honor the wish of the divine to express through who you are. Please honor the wish of the divine to express through who you are. And I would add to that, and how you are. There's a quote by Hafiz. Are you ready for my technologically savvy slideshow? Here you go. Let's see if I can read it to you. I hope that's coming out not backwards. Fingers crossed. I wish I could show you when you are lonely or in the darkness, the astonishing light of your own being. I just love that. Next slide, please. This is from the Course in Miracles. And it says, every leaf that falls is given life in you. And every flower that ever bloomed has saved its perfume and its loveliness for you. I love that. I love these things. Will you check in with me one more time on our breathing? Let's just take a moment. Maybe if you're doing things, baking is fun. Maybe we can pause. Or if you're sitting and listening, maybe we can just close our eyes together and let's just check in. Observe our breathing pattern. You don't need to do anything. Our body breathes for us. We don't need to change it. It's doing fine. So if we allow ourselves to just tune in to our breathing and just observe the breath. What's it like now? It's only 20 minutes maybe since we took a few moments to do this. So let's take a few moments now and see if there's anything different. What have we been doing? And has that affected our level of physical activity or not? And what's it like when we exhale? When our body exhales, what's that letting go process feel like? And then is there a space before our body needs more air? And then do we kind of hold a little bit or does it flow right out again? And if we observe that miracle, we can feel our connection, because when we exhale, we are releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. I'm continuing my biology class here today. When we release the carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, every green living thing, all right, maybe Kermit and Yoda are different, but the other green living things like the plant next to me next to my messy desk here, or the tree outside the window, every blade of grass, every leaf that is given life in you. Well, what does that mean? When we exhale, we are releasing carbon dioxide that our body has made to nurture every green living thing. And when those green living things take in the carbon dioxide, they release the byproduct. Is it called photosynthesis? The thing that happens there with the light and the green and the air? I was never a biology major, but the green things release oxygen. I know that. And our bodies take in the oxygen that the green leaves have released from their process. And our bodies release the carbon dioxide that nurtures all of the trees and leaves and plants and flowers. And they release oxygen that we take in. And we release the carbon dioxide that they take in. And they release the oxygen to nurture us. And we release the carbon dioxide to nurture them, and they nurture us, and we nurture them. What a perfect process we are a part of. So when we observe our breathing, we are observing a miracle that the whole world is a part of, in this perfect ecosystem of which we are a part, not dominant over, but rather an equal part in this nurturing world. Oh, that breath feels so wonderful, doesn't it? Just our bodies doing what they do, taking in our breath, releasing our breath. just as our bodies do without our even giving it attention. That is a part of the miracle of life, of the miracle of this planet, of this world. And we are a part of that just by being, just by how we are. You are a miracle. 1 in quadrillion you is a miracle. We are an essential part of the world. Everything, earth, ocean, sky, every blade of grass, every flower has saved its perfume and its loveliness for you to live well. How's that feel? You know, it's so interesting that the experience connecting that, how that is for us, that we are a part of this ecosystem. It's such a fascinating thing to experience that, bring our awareness to it. And yet, in the middle of a very hectic workday, when I'm in an audition session and the director is taking too much time with each person, more than they told me they would need, and we're 5 people behind, and I have famous people set up to audition for this show, and one of them is standing outside in the office of this producer under a giant poster of himself from the last show he had the lead in that he did because his appointment was a half hour ago. It is very tricky to try to remember the perfection and the miracle of this ecosystem that even just our breath makes us a part of. So it's really good when we can to just take a moment. I mean, what was that we just did? 2 or 3 minutes to just connect with that and remember. It's a good feeling. So how are you now? Different? The same? I am, fill in the blank. You can do it in the chat. You can do it with your colored pens on your paper. You can do it with plain old pencil and paper. You could type it in on your notes app. I am, fill in the blank. Wayne Dyer used to say that those are the 2 most important words in the English language. I am, because what we put after those 2 words summons the truth of who we are and how we shall be. We are creating with those words. We are manifesting our very being. It's very powerful. We can also affirm how we want to be using those magic words. I am, and bring it present tense. Affirm for ourselves. I am beautiful. I am energetic. I am fit. I am well. I am happy. I am feeling good. We can affirm whatever we like. The statistic, I believe, is that the human mind has an average of 75,000 thoughts per day. Most of these aren't conscious. Most of these are like, if I asked you, how many trees do you pass from going to home to from your home going to work or going to the supermarket or whatever? How many trees do you pass along the way? You wouldn't consciously know, but your mind is registering all that information. So there's a lot of information we don't use in there, but we have an average. Scientists have determined, that's more of my biology class, we have an average of 75,000 thoughts per day. Some are important, some we're conscious of, some less important, some we're not even conscious of. But of those 75,000 thoughts, in the average person, approximately 15 are positive. A lot of them are neutral, a lot of them are negative, but only 15 are positive thoughts. So if we affirm 15 beautiful things about ourselves in a given day, we have doubled the average of positive thinking. Louise Hay always points out, when you first say an affirmation, it will not appear to be true. If it were already true, there would be no need to do the affirmation. We're affirming what we want to grow and become into. My mentor and good friend, Sark, Susan Ariel Rainbow Kennedy, if you don't know her, please look her up. She is joyful and wonderful and really teaches about miracles and joyfulness in a way that speaks to my heart and to my soul. But Sark talks a lot about writing yes on Post-it notes and putting them all over your house, and writing your affirmations in big colorful letters and pens, and pasting them everywhere, and just getting it out there, letting yourself see the truth of what you want to manifest. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Big, colorful letters. Say it loud. Say it to someone who will agree with you. Say it to someone who won't agree with you, someone who'll disagree with you. Affirm, affirm, affirm. It is such a powerful practice. Again, my life experience as a casting director really shows this, because the time and time again, I see what happens when an actor really wants a particular role or a particular job. When we want something, we're affirming the lack. We're affirming not having it. And I see actors come into audition and they sometimes fall on their face because they want it so badly. When the actor understands, I'm coming into this audition, and for this 5 or 10 minutes, this role is mine. I have it. I'm playing it. It's mine to lose. No one else has it, because we're in an audition. We're trying to find it. So those who enter with the powerful affirmation place of, this role is mine right now, in the present moment. How are you? I am playing this role. It creates a whole different impression, and the universe responds. Those of us behind the table, where I'm ready to go back to after this hour together, those of us behind the table, we respond to that. A great example of that was years ago, Tyne Daly, a big TV star, was auditioning for Mama Rose in Gypsy. And she said to me, it was my favorite musical. I wanted that role so much. And I thought, I'm a TV star. I'm not a musical theater person. They're never going to hire me to do this role. It had been played at that point by Angela Lansbury, and of course the original Ethel Merman, and the movie by Rosalind Russell. She said they're not going to hire me to play this role. And I thought, well, I get to play it for 10 minutes. It's my dream role for 10 minutes. And if you're only going to have your dream role for 10 minutes, where better to get to do it than in front of Stephen Sondheim and Leonard Bernstein and Arthur Lawrence and so many wonderful people. Let me get to do that. Did I say Leonard Bernstein? Isn't Gypsy Julie Stein? Confused. All right. Anyway, the point is that she said, I have the role and I'm going to do it. And she played the role for that 10 minutes. And guess what happened? She booked the role, and she went on to win the Tony Award for Best Actress in a Musical for playing that role. That's the effect of affirming and acknowledging and recognizing all we have, even if all we have is just for the moment. And truly, isn't it all just for the moment? Isn't this life ours to borrow? Oh, I'm quoting a chorus line. I do much better with this than my biology class. Okay. A brief disclaimer. This is a good moment to share this. All of these things are true for me. All the things I'm sharing with you today, they are true for me. There are other things that are also true for me. If you knew me and you were with me rushing to auditions to get to appointments early in the morning across the New York City streets, rushing from the subway to the audition studio, and finding myself behind some person who is on their phone texting and blocking the flow of traffic on the sidewalk, that people can't even move because they're sending their text completely unaware that there's anyone else on the planet, and no one can get around them to move through the rest of the sidewalk and the empty space in front of them. If you saw me in that situation, you'd be like, okay, this is the guy who's talking about miracles and kindness, because he's got quite a potty mouth on him. I'm telling you, I do not do well in those situations. A very good friend of mine is in the hospital, and She went in for a procedure. She's in her 80s. She went in for a procedure. She had the procedure. It was successful. The hospital worker was bringing her to the bathroom that night and dropped her. So now she's been in the hospital for 6 weeks. So I bake, I cook, I would bring her food. She's been in 6 different rooms on 4 different floors, and they've always been willing to put some food for her in their refrigerator and to heat it in the microwave when she asked for it, because she was supposed to be there 3 days and she ended up there 6 weeks. So this most recent floor she's on is for the physical therapy. And the nursing staff there told me they would not keep it in the refrigerator. They refused to. I forgot all my miracles. All of a sudden, I was Shirley MacLaine doing the give my daughter the shot scene in terms of endearment. Okay, so I'm saying we all have moments. We all have higher self moments and lower self moments. We're here, we're in the world. It's all a work in progress. We get to be works in progress. It is not about perfection. It is not about getting it all done. It is about enjoying the journey and allowing ourselves a judgment-free mindset, an approach with curiosity. Okay, whoa, what did I do? I spoke to a hospital worker the way when the coronavirus pandemic hit, I said I would never speak to a hospital worker. Okay, let me just take that in. But importantly, Beverly Sills, famous opera singer, became the head of the Metropolitan Opera at Lincoln Center. I think she became the head of Lincoln Center at one point. What a wonderful woman, such a great artist, incredible opera singer, very funny comedian as well, was on the Carol Burnett show many times. And Beverly Sills once said something that really struck me. She said, in my entire career, I sang the way I wanted to about 7 times. The rest of the time, I had to just do the best I could with what I had in that moment. We do the best we can. Our 1 in quadrillion life. We do what's before us to do. What a glorious life. What a glorious gift. What glorious people are here. Hello, Anthony. Hello, Lisa. It's a joy to see you again. How wonderful. Hello, Valerie. Hello, Vic and Caroline. I'm so happy for all of you who've joined us today and all of you who are joining on replay. It's so good to be with you for this little bit of time. So you may ask, how can we create the life that we want? I created my life as a Broadway casting director. It wasn't what I was setting out to do. Most belief systems have some idea of a creator, the universe, God, some creator, power of community, some Big Bang theory. My biology class again. Hello, beloved Gina. We have these belief systems in many different religions and many different ideologies. And the idea is that somehow we as humans are created in the image of our creator. Well, doesn't that mean logically that we are creators? Because if the creator created us in their image, then that means we're creators. So we create things. So yes, we can create the life we want. I am in the process of designing a new website for Grateful, Ready, Open, Willing. If you go to gratefulreadyopenwilling.com, you will find an old website that is a little stumbly and that has not been given much attention because over the past year, I have been in a course about creating websites to learn to create this website for myself, which will be much better when it appears. I had hoped to have it ready for this talk so I could send you there. That didn't happen. However, I do hope you will join our community. We have a Facebook group. If you go to the Facebook group, Grateful, Ready, Open, Willing, you can join and it will ask you for your email, which you don't have to give us. But if you do, I'm not a marketing firm. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm just putting together a list so that when the website is ready, which I hope will be within the next few months, when that is ready, I can let people know about it and that you can join our community there and take advantage of talks and things that we will share there and a lot of positive perspective type things that we're hoping to get out into the world. When I say we, I mean me. That is one way. is through the Facebook group. And if you want to join there, I look in there usually every day or two to just check in if there's new members who want to join, and I let you in, and there's lots of positive posts there, many related to show business, most related to creativity and just looking at life in a positive way. So that's one option. I also have a YouTube channel and an Instagram account, all under Grateful, Ready, Open, Willing. And if you subscribe or follow any of those things, all of those will announce the new website and the option of joining the community when it is available. I have a wonderful website creation instructor. It's called Website Creation Workshop. Her name is Christina Hills. She said at the very beginning of the process, you know, you have a year to do this in this course. The year of help is included. It's not going to take you a year. It's taken me a year, and I'm still not done. But there's nothing that says that we're capable of creating the life we want and it will happen on a certain schedule. You know, the term I hear so often is in God's time, not in ours. And it will happen when it happens. I haven't stopped casting. I haven't stopped taking care of my 95-year-old mother. I haven't stopped all the other joyful, life-full things that I get to do. And when I say I get to do, we get to do these things. So, for example, sometimes my partner will hear me say, I don't know how I'm going to get all this done because I have to get to the office tomorrow, or I have to get to mom's tomorrow. And he'll say to me, you get to go to mom's tomorrow. You get to go to the office tomorrow. It's a really helpful thing. What's that thing about watch your words, because watch your thoughts become your words, watch your words become your ideology, watch your ideology, that becomes your character. There's something about that. The point is, words are powerful. And if we start recognizing where we say, I have to, like we're so put upon, which sometimes naturally comes out of us in a given situation, we can then get ourselves to a place of awareness, recognizing that, changing it, reiterating, I get to, and then we can enjoy more. So in terms of creating the life we want, I want a website. I couldn't find anybody to do it. I had 3 or 4 or 12 millennials over recent years tell me, I'll help you with that. I could do that. And it didn't happen. And I thought, okay, little red hen, I'll do it myself, cluck, cluck. So I jumped into a course to learn website design. I don't know that it will stun anybody in the technology world. I have my slides, of course, you know, but I'm very grateful to be able to create. I've created my life as a Broadway casting director. I am consistently humbled by the creative teams I get to work with and by the actors who walk into my audition room, the actors and singers I get to teach in my teaching. This wasn't specifically what I was planning to do with my life, but sometimes, you know, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. And that's the truth of it. One more time before we close. Let's check in with our breathing. Hello, lovely Susan. Thank you. I love having you in the Facebook group. Let's just check in with our breathing. Let's just close our eyes for a moment and let's just see how we are. How's your breath? What's it doing? Observe it. Don't change it. Just observe how your body is breathing for you. Your body exhales and releases. Maybe there's a little pause then, and maybe not. Your body inhales the beautiful oxygen from all the green living things on the planet. That breath nourishes from the lungs into the bloodstream. The heart pumps that oxygenated blood up to the brain. More biology class. Okay. I had no idea how much I knew, you know, until you start talking. And with your body nourished, we release the byproduct of carbon dioxide in gratitude and thanks to every living green thing to nourish them more, and they nourish us more. And is your breathing the same as when we began an hour ago? Is your breathing pattern pretty much the same? Is it a little more relaxed? A little more shallow? Are your breaths a little smaller, a little tighter? Are they a little more released and relaxed? Is your breathing pattern a little slower than you expected or a little faster than you expected? What is it like for you to observe this life process, the miracle that 1 in a quadrillion you are today in this moment? How are you? Let's just enjoy one more beautiful breath. How you are, the miracle that you are. So let's review. Today we talked about come as you are and how you are, and you are exactly where you need to be right now. Want to question that? Just ask yourself, do I have everything I need right now in this moment? I know there's things we want. I know there's things we'd like to get or make happen or achieve. But right now, in this moment, in this just this tiny little moment of time, do we have everything we need to be human being, to be in this moment? For many of us, that answer is yes, for right now. Secondly, we explored how we can be. We looked at that from different vantage points, from our kitchen drawer, bakery string, up to our shoes, our footwear, our living space, our communications. Perhaps there's nothing we wish to change at all. Perhaps the gift of our awareness of all that we already have is enough. Perhaps living this 1 in a quadrillion life miracle is enough. And thirdly, we looked at some tools, some ways of being or thinking of things or getting in touch with how we are. We checked in with our breathing and our bodies and how we are in the present moment. And we looked at that 3 different times because the present moment, it's a gift. That's why they call it the present, right? I've heard that many times and I just love it. And the thing is, tools like checking in, being aware of our breathing, those sorts of things, they're tools. In your magic satchel, you put those tools and you hope that when you come face to face with a dragon, or that there's some invisible cloak or magic ring or lightsaber or something that you can use to move forward. Come as you are. Show up for our lives. We show up, show up, show up, show up. It is fun to show up for our lives. It all resides within you. The power to change, the power to create, the power to recreate or reinvent ourselves. As most heroes' journeys teaches us, I think of my hero's journey, your hero's journey. Our heroes' journeys teach us the power lies in ourselves all along. So click your ruby slippers or find Santiago's treasures under the sycamore tree where you're sleeping, or see that it is the time you have spent on your rose that makes your rose so important, and never forget that you become responsible for those you have tamed. The little prince, my rose, has tamed me. Rose, what's the name of that restaurant? Thank you to Sherra Johnson, Kayla Tibbetts. Thanks to you for spending this portion of your day with me. I am so happy to have you here and to share this time together, just as the glorious miracle that you are, the beloved child of the universe that you are, the 1 in a quadrillion miracle that you are. I look forward to when the universe may toss us about so we can be together again. Be well.